Hi, welcome back. I'm Corrin from GraceNotesStitchers, and I am going to show you how I cut my fabric and get that all prepped to put in my first stitch. So I will be putting in my first stitch. Please bear with me, I'm going to be at a couple different views. So the very first thing I am going to do is get out my fabric calculator. So I have some devices to show you. First is my Kindle. Let's find my pattern for you. So purl. Click the 3 lines, view PDF. It is 400 by 600. That's the stitch count. I use this app. It's called X-Stitch Fabric Calculator Cross Stitch. And it looks like this on the outside. This is for iOS. I don't know if it's for Android. But I went ahead and put in my 400 over 600 with 600. I'm using 28 count. I'm stitching over 1, not over 2, and I would put a 2-inch border. Depending on what scroll rods I have is whether I'm going to put a 2 or 3-inch border. So my fabric only needs to be 19 to 21 inches wide. So let me see what scroll rods I have. So I found my 50 centimeter scroll rods from Monique, and that's 19 inches. So I'm going to do 19 inches across and 28 inches high to give myself extra so that I can have plenty of fabric to wrap around. So I'm going to go the 19 this way. Let me see how high this is. So this is 34. 34 minus 19. I know you're shouting at me, it's 15 inches, so I'm going to cut 15 inches off. And I'm trying to think which way. Sorry, my brain's working here. This way. Okay, so let's do the 26 first. So before we started selling fabric, I've never had a setup like this. So this is actually kind of cool for me. So we're going to go to 26. Threads out of there, and before I do that, I'll show you. I am using 28 count Lugana by Zweigert, and I buy it by the whole yard. And I'm using ivory because I do not like to stitch on white. And I need 28 inches, not 26. So it's a good thing I'm doing it this way. So here's my 28 with this. I can actually order you whole yards. They don't cost as much as hand-dyed fabric. So if you're interested, I mean, that's not why I'm making these videos, but if you are interested in getting fabric for your HAED, I can get either gridded fabric or solid for you. I know I just ordered myself some light blue and some gray, just because I don't like white. It's really hard for me to see and it gets really boring. All right, and it's going to be 19 wide. So I am going to make my snip up here. Normally I use a yardstick, but again, because I have my quilting thing here, I'm really picky usually, and I go all the way up the holes. So I make sure that I have a nice straight line all the way up. And I just go as far as I think I need to. I hear a dog scratching at the top of the stairs. This is not my recording room. This is actually where I cut fabric and work on shipping for our business. If you all do not know, my husband, daughter, and I own GraceNotesFabrics. It's only about 3 months old. We started in August of 2021. My husband came up with our motto, encouraging new starts since 2021. Of course, when I start something new, he rolls his eyes at me. But now that I think about it, I will be throwing our motto back at him, because that was all him. I love the sound of scissors, sorry. I did pretty good. I went over by a little bit, but I still have a nice size piece. And unfortunately, my calculator had it set for over 2 and I didn't notice it. So I didn't quite, I cut off 2 inches of my fabric already. But that's okay. I thought I was going to have to use a whole yard and I couldn't imagine on a non-super size using a whole yard. So I'm very thankful that I redid it. I didn't have it set for over 2, but somehow it did. So this sounds unbelievable. Maybe check, because sometimes it is. Okay, I'm not gonna have you watch me serge, but I will be right back as soon as I serge my fabric. So I have my edges serged. I don't know if you can see the top of my head or not. I don't think it matters. All right, I'm gonna quick grab my yardstick because I don't have a ruler. I usually use a tape measure. Okay, so I have my calculator here to help me remember. No, I'm pulling up a real calculator. That's not very helpful. And it blinked out, so let me put my 400 by 600. Change it. Ah, I know what I did earlier. When I did the 28, I never like went down. Okay, so I know I have 19 across and I have 28 to the top. So I'll double check. I do have 28 to the top. So if I had no border, it would only be 22 inches. So that is a 6-inch difference. So it means I have 3 extra inches on the top. So I have to come in 3 inches at the top and 2 from the side. Now, here is the thing. I have, some people will use a post-it note, which I don't remember if it's a 2-inch or 3-inch, or they'll use a key, and then they'll just kind of put the border on and then start right there at that corner. So I'm going to measure down. I went ahead and loaded my first color. My first color is, let's go into my project. Whoops, let me go back in to my project. So let's go to the top left corner, search. First is 3861. Let me show you. These are what I had put on from my Annie's Keepers. So I have all those ready and loaded. Here's my extra threads. The ones that I didn't have on Annie's Keepers that I know I need more than one. That I need a whole skein of. And this one I need a whole skein. So I took off 1 thread and I went ahead and put the other 5 right in here. All right, so I'm going to measure down 3 inches. And then I will put my needle there. Ugh. Sorry, I had my needle stuck underneath my yardstick. So I'm inserting this video here because I realized you couldn't see my hands when I did this. So I measured down 3 inches. I put my needle in right here. I measured over 2 inches and then put my, well, so actually I had my needle here and then I slid it over to the 2-inch mark. I had my yardstick laying here, and that of course was the top of my stitch. So that was my 3 inches by 2 inches. I came down here and I put in my first stitch, and then I showed you me putting in this stitch. But I just wanted to let you know. So I measured down my 3 inches, put my needle in the hole, and then I measured in 2 inches. And then I made sure my needle was in the right place. So I'm 3 inches by 2 inches. I don't know how close I am to showing you. So that's going to be my first stitch. So I'm going to come behind you. And I will put in my first stitch. I'm doing tent. So that's actually going to be the top of my stitch. So I'm going to pull it through. Just because I am that person. I don't want to lose my stitch. Put in my first stitch. Go ahead and pull that through. Put in my first loop, I loop start it, and my second one is not beside it, it skips a stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and make my loop, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it through, not to that, but to the second one, I guess third hole. I like to do a little tug, just make sure I pull my knot all the way through, not knot, but loop. Okay, now I'm going to stabilize my needle here, and there we go. I have already made a video on how to load Omnique bars, so I am not going to show you how I load onto my roller frame. I am going to just do that, I'm going to go ahead and upload this video, and then hopefully I'll figure out a way to do a stitch with me type video and show you how I actually am working on my full coverage.